Good morning. I'm so excited to have the staff from St. Anne Institute with us this morning. And we're just going to start with a few introductions. Richard, do you mind starting us off?
Thank you. Sam, really nice to be here. My name is Richard Huck. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I am the Chief Executive Officer for St. Anne Institute. And as of February 1st, I will have completed my first year at St. Anne's.
My name is Tammy Flaherty. I'm the Director of Community-Based Clinical and Care Management Services. I've been with St. Anne, LCSW. I've been with St. Anne for 10 years. Previously, a therapist in our adult program, and as of March, stepped into my role as director.
Hi, my name is Alexa Malia. I am the residential clinical director. I oversee our residential therapists and residential case planners. I've been at St. Anne's for about 8.5 years. I started off as direct care on one of the units, and then I moved into our agency behavior support office. I was there for about 5 years, and then I transitioned over to the clinical side. And I'm very happy to be here today.
I'm Kaylin LeBaron. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been with St. Anne's for about 7 years. Currently, I'm the coordinator for our CFTSS program, as well as recruitment and development for St. Anne's. I'm excited to be here.
My name is Rachel Best. I am an art therapist working in the prevention program in Albany. I'm an outpatient therapist. I've been here for about just over a year, and I'm really excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Berzank. I am also an art therapist. I work with the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Program in the Gloversville Satellite Office as a therapist, working with youth with problematic sexual behaviors. And I've been here since May of last year.
Hello, I am Rosa Mccune. I am the program administrator for our integrated care management program at St. Anne's. I have been with the agency for a little bit over 8 years, actually, if you count my internship, which started in January of 2014. So I've been involved with various different programs and services that St. Anne's had to offer. Very excited to share, the background of that and what we have to offer. Thank you for having us.
I love hearing how long everyone's been at St. Anne and your history with the organization. That was a lot of fun to hear about that. I'm actually going to start my first question with Richard. As the CEO, can you tell me a little bit more about St. Anne Institute?
Absolutely. St. Anne Institute has been around since 1887, and we have programs that start. We have an early childhood education program. And I guess I should start by here. Some of us I'm at the main campus, which is in Albany. It's 9 acres, 13 buildings, and it's pretty much our flagship office for St. Anne's. It's where we started. And it's home to our early childhood education program. Tammy oversees our prevention programs that serve the capital region. It's also home to our largest program, which is our residential treatment center program, which is now under the Family First Prevention Services Act, is now our qualified residential treatment program. We got the designation through OCFS back in September, and thanks to Alexa, she and her team have really worked very diligently with the state to get us prepared to be able to function in a family first environment. So that's here. We also have a day services program. It's basically a school-based day treatment program where young people needing special ed services for middle and high school come and also receive their mental health services on site. Also, as part of the QRTP and Families First, we are building, Alexa and her team are building the aftercare program that's required as part of Families First. So that's growing, and I think we're hovering around nine-ish cases, with the hope that that will grow over time, over the coming year. Also home here on campus is our soon-to-be, St. Anne's was awarded a crisis residence program through the Office of Mental Health in New York State. And so we're getting ready to work, we're working really closely with OMH to have our design plan approved so that we can start the renovations that are going to be needed for us to get the crisis residence unit ready for programming. So we're hoping that program, it'll have capacity for 5, and we're hoping that that program will be open later, hopefully late summer, early fall of this year. So that's the campus. I think I got everybody, but then I'm going to go around because you've got Rosa, who also oversees, she calls her office is home for she runs the health homes, the health home care management program, and Rosa's home base is here on the campus, but her reach is pretty big, right? And she works in partnership with the Adirondack Academy and to work. And we have, Rosa, as of this moment, about 50 or so young people enrolled in our health home program. Do I got that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. And Tiffany was mentioning earlier that we were awarded a federal grant through the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquent Prevention to provide problematic sexualized behavior counseling in the Mohawk Valley region, which covers 5 counties in New York State. And Tiffany is one of our therapists who is, leading the charge in getting that program up and running. We just opened up last year an office in Gloversville to be able to serve the community, have a larger presence in that Mohawk Valley region. But we are thinking about expanding and possibly opening up a larger office as the program grows. So that's really exciting. And then we also, Rachel and Kaylin, they oversee our outpatient community mental health programs, which also serves our adults in the Hudson Valley region. Well, it's in Hudson Falls, but they have a pretty big reach. St. Anne's serves 26 counties altogether through all the different programs, and we go all the way down to Nassau and Suffolk counties in Long Island. We go all the way out to the west, we're Erie County in the west, and all the way up north to the Canadian border. So these guys, I'm really super excited to be here. I'm really proud. I'm relatively new to St. Anne's, but I'm really glad and proud to be part of this dynamic team. Especially as a social worker, it's really exciting for me because to be surrounded by like-minded people, but also this group is really super talented, and they bring a really and they bring inspiration to the work. And so it's really nice to work here because of these guys. So I think I covered it all. Did I miss anything? Did I get everything? Okay, so I'll turn it back to you, Sam.
I have to tell you, I'm so happy I started with that question and that overview. I had no idea that St. Anne Institute had such a big reach in New York State. I've lived in the Capital District for almost 20 years, and I knew about the school and the Albany campus. So I'm very happy we're doing this interview today so that everyone can learn about the great work you're doing in all the areas that you're impacting people. And next, what I want to do is open it up for everyone to be able to talk about the work that you do. I want to know more about the programs and services offered through St. Anne's. So let's start with this. You covered this a little bit, Richard, but let's hear from some more members of your team. Who are the clients you're serving at St.
Well, I'd like to jump in since I oversee the community-based, the clinical and care management services, and just kind of do a precursor to everyone else joining in and talking about their individual work. So we have, as Richard said, we have the main campus, and we also have multiple satellite offices. I'm sitting right now in the Troy office. which we have here in downtown Troy. We also have an off-site Russell Road office, which is our Albany office that just houses our adult program. We have the Gloversville office and we have the Hudson Falls office. So we have, you know, multiple satellite offices that offer the outpatient services. In the Troy office, we have a program in conjunction with, it's a grant through the Rensselaer County Department of Mental Health. And we work with youth with problematic sexual behaviors. That's our forte. That's where we have our skill sets. So we're working with those youth, as well as we have an adult program. The adult program is across the Hudson Falls, Troy, and the Russell Road office. We work with justice-involved clients who have committed a crime of a sexual nature. And so this is it's a prevention and community safety program. We offer counseling to those clients. And so we have, you know, and then on top of that is Rosa with the care management, but I'll let her introduce the care management services and how they work to support families in the area. So.
Okay, hi. So I can definitely speak more to care management that our agency offers. So as Richard mentioned, so it's care management through the Children's Health Home of New York State. So we work with families who are, you know, looking to get connected to a care manager to get assistance with really different areas of needs. So the program itself is a Medicaid funded program through the state, and it's a voluntary program. And we really strive to stand behind the client-centered, family-driven focus of the program. So we work with those families that are really looking to get that help and support. You know, it's nothing that we're going to force anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. We work with them at their pace and what they're really willing to address at the time. So just a little bit of background about that. We typically have in our program members who are eligible based on having a serious emotional disturbance or a serious behavioral health diagnoses. That's the majority of the population. However, we do also serve members who are eligible based on having physical health chronic conditions that you know, they kind of just need a little bit extra help with. So what we do is really get them, make sure that they're connected to all the necessary providers, primary care, dental care, specialty providers, and making sure that the families are, you know, following through with making sure that they're attending appointments, asking any questions or concerns they have for their child. We really advocate and, you know, make sure that if there's any concerns that those are addressed. We work with the families to complete assessments that develop a plan of care. So we really work off of that and make sure that all of their goals that they're identifying are being worked on by those who are identified to be involved with that child. So really the child's care team is what we call it. So we work collaboratively with those care team members, whether it's providers, social supports, you know, family members, as well as the youth, to really, you know, address any gaps in care and address any needs. So, you know, as Richard had mentioned, I myself am located in the Albany, the main campus office, and I have one care manager out of our Albany office as well. And we work with families in Albany, Schenectady, Columbia, Rensselaer. I might be missing one or two, but those are the, you know, active families we have right now out of the Albany office. And then we also have a care manager up in the Hudson Falls satellite office. So she works with families who are in Washington, Warren, and Saratoga counties. And then we also are contracted with a school in Johnstown, like Richard mentioned, it's Adirondack Academy. So it's an alternative educational program. And we've embedded a care manager directly in the school, and they've really reported being very appreciative of that extra support for those students. So we are hopefully looking to expand our services in all of our areas and continue to grow our program and definitely spread the work that we do.
I'd like to piggyback off of that a little bit, because Richard had mentioned earlier about the staff and growth of the agency, and, Rosa as well, just, all these different areas that we're able to serve. And one of the things I really appreciate about St. Anne's over the last few years is that we have been more flexible and creative and responsive to community need for services. And so for the Hudson Falls office, for example, a few years back, we were in a pretty small space and we had a very small staff, and we had ended up doubling in size and, ended up with a larger office space, and being able to accommodate many more clients because there was such a need in the Hudson Falls area for Warren and Washington counties. We were actually having clients come from Clinton, Franklin, and Essex counties as well. Clients were traveling an hour and a half to our office for services because we were the closest provider of the services that they needed. So really, we have been trying to make services accessible as much as possible for people in the community, especially in rural areas where they're fewer and far between.
I like how you talked on the rural areas. We hear a lot from our social workers who work in the rural areas, and they talk about how difficult it is to provide care in those places. So I like that you are meeting that need by expanding your services and getting out in the community where people need you. And it sounds like what you were saying, Rosa, too, about what you do is that St. Anne really is the linchpin for these families, and keeping every other person on the team in line, essentially, that you keep them in line with making sure that your clients get wraparound care and services. Would that be a correct assessment?
Absolutely. That is the goal of the services. And, and as I had mentioned, we are, client-centered and family-driven. So we really strive to make sure that the families are connected to their providers of choice, their preference. So even if it's, working with multiple different agencies or different, providers in different areas, we do whatever we can to make sure everybody's on the same page and talking, and ultimately working to meet together to meet the needs of that child and the family.
I just wanted to emphasize that the great need for expanding our services. And, one of the reasons that we're reaching out is, to really get people interested in not only St. Anne, but the new services that can be provided. And Kaylin will be talking more about what the CFTSS, we have a lot of acronyms with Children and Family Treatment and Support Services that we're really working to expand, and that Tiffany is part of. Rachel's been a part of offering those services, and Kaylin and her, the Hudson Falls office in particular. We're really looking to expand that. So that's part of why we wanted to really talk to you today and let people know things are changing, that there's some areas that are really exciting that are growing. But I think each person will speak to their own experience in those programs. But I just again, what Rosa and Kaylin were saying, the great need, not only in the cities, but the rural areas in particular, because of the lack of resources.
I'll speak a little bit to the CFTSS services now. A colleague of mine calls them the alphabet soup services because there is an acronym for everything. So I try to keep it straight and make it accessible for people to understand. But so the overarching umbrella is the Children and Family Treatment and Support Services. And then there are some other acronyms that fall under that. One of them being OLP, which is Other Licensed Practitioner. That's primarily the services that we're providing right now. It's another avenue for people to be able to access therapy services, mental health services, in individual and group format. The eligibility is just that the clients are under the age of 21 right now, and enrolled in Medicaid, and who have a need for help with either social, emotional, or behavioral health challenges, or who need help with a substance use issue. And so right now we are primarily doing the OLP. However, we can also provide PSR and CPST. PSR stands for psychosocial rehabilitation, and CPST, I'm going to not mess it up, community psychiatric supports and treatment. And so really the focus of the CPST and PSR services is to kind of piggyback on the OLP. So the things that you are learning and practicing in therapy, working on, it can also be practiced in the community with some guidance and support. And so we're, really excited about being able to offer these services and, expand availability to people in the community. We are hoping to grow the CPST and PSR portion of our services more. I think right now, primarily the issue is just, having enough staff to be able to address the community needs, because the need is certainly there in the community we're seeing, but making sure that, we can adequately meet the needs of those clients right now.
I know that Rachel, you had worked with, you have two different programs. You have the prevention program that you'll speak to today, but you also had a CPST client that you worked with. And I wonder, without obviously, confidentiality, but just kind of giving a general, you had a really good experience with that family. And I was wondering if you could maybe speak to that, since Kaylin brought it up.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the CPST, because I'm working towards licensure right now, I was able to provide some family therapy. And so since I am in the clinical prevention program, which we mentioned before, is based on focusing on problematic sexual behaviors and also victims of sexual abuse in the community. And so we can get referrals through this, and it kind of provides a little bit more flexibility, because the other program is through the county. But this other service kind of allows us to take on more clients and more people in the community that still have that need. And, you're able to provide weekly or bi-weekly services. So it's a little bit more flexible for families, because it can be a bit of a commitment to come in every week, especially I believe some of the families are driving up to an hour here. It was definitely a really positive experience. And I definitely think that that's something that the community certainly could use, and I would love to see grow, and hopefully we can get some more staff here to help grow that.
And your work was a lot with, it was a smaller child, so it was work with the parents and really doing supportive work around feeling safe and comfortable making decisions for with their daughter. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes. And I was able to incorporate some art therapy into that as well, which was nice. It was mostly just supporting a family and making a really difficult decision. It was related to sex abuse. So it was just a way to reach families that maybe kind of get left out. So I really think it's an important service that we have.
Can anyone speak to the other side of that? Because I like the fact that Tammy touched on that. You work with clients who have experienced sexual abuse, but you also work with offenders, it sounds like. Can anyone speak about that?
I can actually speak about that, because in my program, we get referrals for both. And sometimes in my referrals, I even work with victims and children that act out can be within the same family. So I've actually worked with families where that's the case. And so that kind of provides a really unique experience where you're able to take a whole family approach and really be able to do full family healing instead of just treating one or the other. So it's definitely a unique experience that I think that you can get at St. Anne's, and just such a great place to learn and really be able to work with these kind of families. And it's something that is so needed, and I hope can really grow.
I just wanted to add to that, we do work with adults who have had offenses. And one of the things that we do is we really differentiate between the youth and the adults that come in through the program, and how we approach, because it's very, it's defined by developmental needs. And I'm sure people, Rachel and Tiffany and Kaylin and Alexa could speak to this as well. So, we've made a really conscious choice to talk about youth who have sexually, with sexual behaviors, because a behavior is not the person. And we also do that with our adult program. We work on languaging people moving forward, making changes, because that's what we do, right? We're looking to it's prevention, it's community safety, and it's working individually with people to change behaviors and to have goals and to move forward and with a positive quality life. So I just, just speaking to that, again, we always talk about youth with problematic sexual behaviors, because it's really important to put that behavior on the end of that, right? It's so just wanted to add that.
And just to piggyback off of that, I know coming in as an intern, I was really surprised to learn that St. Anne's worked with kind of both ends of, victims, as well as children who have acted out, adults who have had inappropriate sexual behaviors. But, as I kind of learned and grew at St. Anne's, I have learned, there's what we all want ultimately is community safety. We want people to not be harmed, right? We want everyone to be safe and comfortable. And so it sort of is this idea that, how could you possibly say that you are helping to prevent sexual abuse without working with individuals who have committed some of that harm, and trying to ensure that they're able to make different choices in the future and, not harm anyone else again, even if they have made some bad choices previously. So, being able to take that perspective, and, it's just something you can't avoid. It's not a black and white issue. It's, something that can be really taboo to talk about. So then for us to talk about it and say, we provide these services can be kind of shocking to people. But when you really get down to, the community need and the reality, I think Rachel's situation where there was a victim and a child in the family who had acted out as well is a really common one. And it's not something you usually picture when you talk about this topic. So it's so important that both sides of that get addressed if we are wanting to keep people safe and, heal and move forward.
I have to say, you are masterfully having this conversation. And I see the social work lens on this so clearly. And I think when we talk about social work ethics and we talk about the dignity and the worth of the person, you have just exemplified that when you talk about your services and how you approach them and the theory behind your services. I want to ask a little bit more about your partnerships. Who are you working with? Because you mentioned some grants that you have and that you're working with different state offices. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
I can speak a little bit to some of the services or some of the community people that I work with and communicate with. So we get our referrals through Albany County and also through CPS. So we're constantly in communication with the county workers, sometimes with the CPS workers, and then also with probation, as some of the clients that we have are on probation. I'm trying to think of other people that we communicated with. We've also worked with, I know we provided equine therapy for some of our clients. So we had a connection with an equine therapist and we're able to provide families with that opportunity. But it's you're communicating with a lot of people in the community, a lot of different family members, and it really gives you an overall, everybody's working together to try to serve the clients, the families.
Some of our other partnerships as well, we have a partnership with Warren County Department of Social Services, as well as Saratoga County Department of Social Services, Rensselaer County Department of Mental Health, and some others that I'm sure I'm leaving off right now. But I think the big benefit to these partnerships is that you can take a team approach to cases and, trying to help clients in whatever it is that their needs might be. So we're not all siloed out to one issue and saying, sorry, I can't help you with this other stuff. But we can advocate on our clients' behalf with their caseworker and work as a team to try to get their needs met. And I think that's one of the big strengths about St. Anne's that, some other agencies are not able to provide. Unfortunately, it's sort of like, you come in for therapy once a week and that's your time and that's it. Whereas St. Anne's is able to take more of a big picture approach with families and, really kind of wrap around and, spend more time collaborating with the other services involved, with their caseworker, whoever it is that needs to be collaborated with in order to help this family move forward and, really tailor the services to the client instead of saying, hey, this is what we can offer that may or may not work for you. We can say, what do you need and how can we make this work?
So when, as supervising residential, we also work with our Runaway Homeless Youth Shelter. And that is a federal grant that we have. We have to reapply every couple of years, but we've had our shelter now for, I believe, about 5 years, maybe a little bit less. But with that, we provide therapy to the youth in the shelter. It is volunteer based. They're not obligated to participate in treatment, but if it is something that they want, they can have it. And that's a very different population. And I can speak to residential a little bit later as well. But that also requires taking a different approach. There's different reasons why kids come to the shelter. We work primarily with youth between the ages of 13 and 17, and then we actively plan with others in the community. Sometimes it's probation, sometimes it's the county mental health clinic, but because it's a federal program, we take kids from across the country. We've had kids come from Arkansas, Ohio. We were working with one youth who was supposed to come from Louisiana at one point. And we work with whoever the service providers are to either reunify and have that youth be safe going home, or we come up with an alternative program, which might be a transitional living program, whether it be local, out of state. But that's just another program that we work with as well.
So Sam, I just want to just sort of piggyback on what everybody has said so far. It's also St. Anne's is, I understand, again, I've been here a year, understand that St. Anne's had a strong relationship with NASW in the past, and we're re-energizing that. And I want to thank Kaylin for sort of championing that and getting us re-energized, reconnected with NASW. We're also working really closely with all of our local politicians. We work really closely with Senator Breslin, Assemblyperson John McDonald, Assemblywoman Pat Fahey, amongst others, the Albany County Exec, Dan McCoy. And so really working with our Director of Fund Development to make sure that St. Anne's is working collaboratively with our politicians to advance, our social service, social work agenda items. Just on Monday, we were I'm sure CAFCA, the Council on Family and Child Caring Agencies. We participated in Lobby Day, and so met with all the politicians to really advance the governor's budget. There's lots of things in Governor Hochul's budget that would really help social workers, human service workers, the COLA, the increase in the prevention services money, the foster care block grant money, the not-for-profit infrastructure capital improvement program. I mean, St. Anne's has been around, like I said earlier, since 1887. So our facilities really need modernizing. And as we're moving, I think the team mentioned earlier, with the work that's being done in the rural communities, telehealth capability and technology is really key. And so what we've seen, one of the silver linings of the pandemic is that it really forced human services providers to really, really put telehealth services into practice. And so this group has done that. Our partners have done that. And I know the reports that I've seen, utilization is way up because it makes it a little easier for clients to be able to stay in touch and receive services if they can do them using their smartphones. But we have to make sure that we have the connectivity and the technology and the equipment to do that. So really taking a stance, not just on the national stage, like Alexa said, our Runaway and Homeless Shelter Services, that's a national grant. Tiffany's program, the OJJDP, that's national, that's got us on the national stage. And so we're really working to make sure that St. Anne's is is a contender, and that we want to make sure that we're working really collaboratively with our politicians and to really, like I said, advance social service agenda items that are important to us to keep the work going, I know it always sounds dramatic, but I always say these are life-saving services, and that's not an exaggeration. They're life-saving services, and like you said earlier, we're bound by our social work code of ethics to make sure that those life-saving services continue and are accessible to the people that need them. So we take it very seriously, and we're, like I said, working really on the county level, the city level, the state level, and the federal level to make sure that we're advancing those agenda items. So we also got reconnected to ACRC, the Association for Children's Residential Centers. So we're back on that. We're hoping to participate. Last summer, we really didn't get a chance to participate because the conference was in Florida, and we had just got reacquainted, and we just didn't have enough time to get to the conference. So we plan on going again this year. We're also in a strategic alliance with St. Catherine's and LaSalle, but we also partner with Northern Rivers. Actually, Alexa and I will be attending a networking meeting with OMH, OCFS, Northern Rivers, LaSalle, St. Catherine's, and St. Anne's on Friday, as we're working together with OMH and OCFS to design a new type of residential program that's kind of in between an acute care setting, a hospital setting, and our QRTP. There's really, for a small percentage of the population, there are kids that don't necessarily need, inpatient hospitalization, but they need a little bit more structure and a little bit more support than what we're able to do in our QRTP. So, so again, those are just some of the strategic alliances, the collaborations that we are doing as social workers, but also as a social work agency. Like I said, at the city, state, county, and federal level.
I think, Richard, you bring up a good point about, that and that we're uniquely positioned at St. Anne with the residential and the outpatient to see those gaps in the community gaps, right? As Richard was saying, that there's that transitional piece, or that area that isn't being, addressed. And I think in the community, it's the same thing. More and more pressure is being put on the community to offer the services and the resources that people need, so that they don't go, so that they're not going inpatient or they're not going to residential. And so I think it's, we're really set up to have that unique perspective, as Richard was talking about these high level policies and the residential to the community. Tiffany is part of the grant for the federal grant that Richard was talking about, and she's in this really unique position because she was a new therapist hired to set up a new office with a new grant. So she's had some really interesting experiences, I think, with her community connections as well. So I don't know if she wants to speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, so through the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, got the grant. We have received training for problematic sexual behavior, cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's a treatment that we kind of follow and adjust it per individual. But it does have a 98% effective rate, I believe. Tammy, correct me if I'm wrong. But so it is very effective, and we are seeing it work with the families that we're treating right now, and it is being reported to other agencies, CPS, that they are finding it effective. But yeah, we treat kids 7 and older that display any kind of sexual behaviors. So that could be acting out on the internet, sending inappropriate photos, using the internet to look up inappropriate things. Could also be touching or showing private parts to other people. Just kind of not socially acceptable behaviors for the age range that there are. But we work on, emotional identification, learning relaxation techniques, sexual education, that's a big one that doesn't really happen in the schools. So it's always amazing to see what the parents don't know and what the kids don't know and keeping them educated. So we do work with both the parents and the kids. So it is a family treatment modality as well, like Rachel said. And then we work on, abuse prevention and what to look out for.
Thanks. Just to mention, Tiffany's been trained in PSB CBT, which is problematic sexual behavior CBT. So she's working towards fidelity. And we've also had Alexa and I and Richard have put together the motivational interviewing. So people have been trained in motivational interviewing. That's another area of that evidence-based intervention. So I just wanted to add that.
You have all painted such a beautiful picture of how you serve the community, where you're serving the community, the treatments you use to serve the community, how you view your clients, again, through that social work lens. I want to talk a little bit about the culture of St. Anne. Like, what is it like to work at St. Anne?
I'd like to speak a little to this because I had reached out to some of my colleagues before doing this interview just to get some feedback from, not only my perspective, but others and how they feel and their experience at St. Anne's. And I was really overwhelmed by the response from everyone, actually. I sort of thought, sometimes you send an email, you might get a reply or two, but really everyone replied with feedback. And so some of the points that were made, they also ring true for me. I think we were just talking about before this interview started, I think 3 of us that are on here that are employed by St. Anne's all started as interns. And I think one of the unique things about St. Anne's that helps, young professionals start out and learn and grow and stay is the fact that St. Anne's, we really operate in every capacity as a team. And so we have a clinical team where we present cases each week that, every therapist always has resources available in order to get feedback if they're feeling stuck or if there's an issue there, that hasn't come up for them before, they're not familiar with, they're looking for some information about, that's always available. We have really excellent clinical supervision at St. Anne's that I personally feel like has helped me to grow so much as a clinician at St. Anne's. We unfortunately just lost one of our wonderful supervisors who was here 25 plus years. She passed away over the summer, but she was really like the embodiment of St. Anne's mission and values. And she spoke about and practiced that, we believe wholeheartedly that healing from trauma and abuse is possible and supporting people and being able to do that and on that journey. And so I think just that culture and mission has brought some really awesome, wonderful people to work at St. Anne's. We are a nonprofit, and so people aren't always coming here for the paycheck. They're coming here because they find the work really meaningful. The connections with clients that they're able to make, the connections with colleagues that they're able to make, having kind of some of the same values and feeling like some of the same concepts are really important, really keeps us together, and being able to collaborate. I know I've spoken with others who have maybe left and come back. We've had, I had left St. Anne's and come back actually. So we've had some staff who've had experience at other organizations where that culture just was not there, and the support was not there, and that can feel really overwhelming and lonely and isolating. And I think also it causes your services to suffer. I really feel like at St. Anne's I'm able to provide the best services possible to my clients, and that's important to me. I don't want to feel like I'm giving them half of what they should be getting. And I know I've heard from others that that is a huge benefit to working here as well. We're really able to tailor those services to our clients. And, when I think of St. Anne's and some of the people that have been here for 30 plus years is kind of unbelievable. But at the same time, St. Anne's, like any other organization, is just a building without the people that come here and do the work every day. And we're so fortunate to have such awesome, passionate staff here, and, you know, hoping to continue to grow those teams in all of our different programs, so that, you know, we can continue the work for years to come.
I can speak a little bit about, you know, as someone who's pretty new to the agency and coming in, and this is my very first job after graduating. I definitely would have to agree with the supervision being absolutely spectacular. With my supervisor, I've always felt so supportive and really had learned so many important things, and just feel that, you know, everyone's here to kind of support therapists growing and really learning. And you know, it's definitely, it's heavy work that we do here, and it can take a toll. And so having that support within colleagues and within your supervisor is so important. And it's definitely something I was looking for when I was looking for a job. So that's something that really is special here that I don't know that you get always everywhere else.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what Kaylin and Rachel both said. I mean, Kaylin spoke like wonderful to the fact that the connections at St. Anne's, and coming in as an intern and just seeing that culture and that community between not only just coworkers and you know, between supervisors and everybody that they supervise within different, you know, it's just the ability to grow and to develop and to have that supervision and support. St. Anne's has always offered that. And, you know, as an intern coming in fresh out of college and graduating, I really felt that it was supportive to, you know, professional growth. And starting off as, like, you know, someone working as direct care in the residential department, you know, that was such an invaluable experience, getting to work directly with, you know, young girls and you know, different workers that have been there for years, and just getting experience on both ends is definitely something I'll appreciate and take with me throughout the rest of my career. So I'm very grateful to have started at St. Anne's and hopefully continue to grow within St. Anne's.
Just to add one other thing too, just because I do feel like working in residential, the culture is different, and not anything, you know, against CPS, it's just a different environment. There are times where you see a lot of really difficult things, children actively self-harming, kids fighting each other, kids with very acute level of stress. And especially as a newer therapist, or like Rosa said, we both were in direct care for quite a while. Rosa and I worked together at one point. There's a lot that you see, and it can be hard to kind of come back from some of those things, and also some of the situations that you get put in with our kids. Like if you are on one of the units, if you're trying to assist with a crisis, even as a therapist or a case manager, there are times where you can be the target, and really making sure that there's an outlet for that individual to talk about what happened, how it made them feel, how it impacts their work, their relationship with that youth. Because sometimes we have situations where kids do get violent, or kids do things that are, you know, disrespectful, like maybe spitting in somebody's face, and really working with individuals to know that, yes, this happened, but this isn't about you. This is a youth who has experienced extensive trauma, who has a lot of different things going on that you may not see from the outside looking in. We talk a lot about the iceberg, how, you know, you have that top part, which is the outward behavior, and then you have what's underneath: attachment, abandonment, trauma, so many different components to it. And so it's really, really important to us that we make sure that we're checking in after those incidents happen. If it's at the end of the day, making sure that, you know, we all kind of take some time to decompress and see how people are doing. If something physical happens, you know, are they getting that medical attention that they need? How are we going to work to repair that relationship, and really just making sure that there is that support every step of the way. I think we have a really good relationship with each other here. We really rely on each other for when we're in those difficult situations, but also to celebrate the victories. We recently had one of our kids who was very, very acute over the summer, in and out of the hospital, very dangerous. And she was able to be discharged at the end of December back to a family member. And there was so much work and care that went into working with that youth, and really making an effort to like look at those things and say, like, this is why we do the work that we do. And I think emphasizing that as a workplace is so important, because it reminds us of why we're here every day. And also celebrating the work that the therapists do. Like when you have a kid that struggles to open up, even if you're getting a little bit, like really emphasizing how important that is and how great that work is that person's doing. So we really try to make sure that we're incorporating that in what we do each day, so that people don't feel discouraged. And if they do, how can we help support them get back to a point where they see the light and why we're doing this work?
I just want to say what you all have done is you've painted a picture of the culture of your organization. You just described what it means to be a social worker, and you did not sugarcoat it. You describe, as social workers, oftentimes we run toward the crisis when everyone else is running away from the crisis. And you have described working with sometimes what's characterized as the most difficult cases to work with in society, but the way that you talk about the people you work with, again, just upholding that dignity and worth of each person. It also gives me insight to the culture of your organization, that you don't hide, that we need to talk about sexual abuse. We need to talk about people who have behaviors. We're going to talk about it. We're going to address that there was a fight today on the unit and that it impacted our workers. We're going to make sure that you're okay from that. I love the way, Alexa, that you painted the picture of, you separated the behavior from the person. You're seeing a lot of behaviors right now, but that's not the person. And it's not about you, and it's not directed to you. That in itself paints the culture of St. Anne and how you all discuss these things. I want to get one more thing in about the culture, because you've just described all these services that you provide. Do people have the opportunity to change positions or work in different areas if that interests them? Can a few of you talk about that as part of the culture?
Well, I can say just from personal experience, this was my second career. I had a career in the corporate world, and for many years before I went to school, got my master's in social work, something I had always wanted to do and found the opportunity to do it later on. I came to St. Anne as an intern and really loved it. And I was laughing with some coworkers recently about some challenges I was offered as an intern. I was like, but it gave me a lot of good experience in having to think on my feet and work through challenging situations. And when I left, I started to find out what I didn't, which I think many of us find out. We have a job and we find out what we don't like or what we do like. And I had a couple of positions, and I kept calling my previous supervisor from St. Anne and asking, like, remember, I want to come back. And I had the opportunity to come back. Started out with children and families. Did my worked with the adult program for most of the time. Worked as a therapist, and then found my way as the director of community-based clinical and care management services. So there is a pathway, and we've been talking about that. Kaylin recently received her promotion to coordinator as we identify different areas that we want to grow. I know Alexa can probably speak to her on her own, but as well as Rosa. Rosa found her way to program administrator. So there is a clear pathway for some growth if you stay and you learn and you find different areas of interest.
And just to piggyback off of that, I think I also have worked in every program except for residential in Gloversville, because Gloversville is new. But so I've done some work at all of our office locations, and in the adult program, I've worked with kids as young as 4, all the way through adults in their 80s. So St. Anne's really offers a variety of experiences. We work with so many different populations that there's kind of something for everyone. And I feel that I've been fortunate in my experience, and I'm not unique here, that people are able to be supported to explore their interests. And so, one of the great things about coming as an intern is you might have an idea like, yes, this is the kind of work I want to do. And you start to do it and you're like, oh my goodness, what did I get myself into? Maybe not. And so you end up, being exposed to different things that you may not have ever even thought of. And, having such a close relationship with your supervisor, you can express those things. I've always felt comfortable doing that. And, I've always felt supported in being able to explore those other opportunities, and working in different programs and kind of finding a niche, because, as Alexa was saying, a lot of this work is very tiring. The vicarious trauma is very real. And so the support is so important. But, finding work that kind of is like the good tiring for you, right? That you're, at the end of the day, you're happy you did the work that, might have tired you out. And so, it's really nice that St. Anne's is able to offer a lot of different experiences, so that you can kind of find your way as a professional, especially just starting out and not knowing what you might want to do ultimately.
Something else that I think would be helpful to bring up here too is the educational opportunities. I was not an intern here, but one thing that I've always appreciated about my time here is that in starting as direct care, I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do career-wise, like right out of college, but then applied for my master's program and was able to, I had so much flexibility with my supervisor. So once I had transitioned from the unit to the on-call agency behavioral support office, my supervisor really worked with me so that I could go to classes, do my internship, and continue to work. And then I had opportunities as a supervisor. And ultimately, between then and now, I was able to get to the point that I'm at. And I really appreciate the fact that that was an opportunity I was able to have. I don't know of other organizations would have allowed some of the flexibility I needed, especially because with a master's program, you're doing your internship 2 full days a week. You have your classes, full-time classes, and then, that changes a lot. And that's something I'll always be grateful for. And also the real-time experience while I was doing my master's, and being able to apply everything I was seeing or learning in theory than seeing the actual practice. St. Anne's has really allowed that for not just myself. I have colleagues who were here for a long time and then they moved on to other places, but we perpetuated that support with higher education. I think that's so important because you're working with an agency that allows you to grow, not just for the agency, but for yourself and your own career goals.
That is excellent. I'm so glad you brought up the training opportunities too. And what a great opportunity to be a student and working and applying those in everything you're learning, your skills in real time. I think that I'm really happy that you brought that up. Now, I know you're growing and I know that you're looking to hire and you're also looking to bring on interns. Kaylin, can you show people what they need to do to get in touch with St. Anne Institute?
Yes, I can do that. I want to add that one of the really wonderful benefits to working here at St. Anne's is the flexible time off. I think that's another way that's kind of built in to support staff, is that you can have a good work-life balance, and people are able to pursue lots of interests outside of mental health on their free time, and they have the flexibility to do that if they want to travel or have a hobby that is time intensive. St. Anne's really allows you to do that, which is really wonderful. And we are actively searching for interns. We have had such wonderful experience with many of our staff have come from being interns, had a good experience, and we hired them on. And I think, just with some agency changes, we have fallen off of that a little bit, and we really want to build that back up and strengthen that. I know residential has had a couple of interns over the past few years and maybe have been a little bit better at this. But on the community-based side of things, we're looking to revamp that. So the way that you can get in touch with us, I'm going to show you my screen here. This is our website. We're at saintanninstitute.org. It is STANNE. And then, so this is our home page here. So you'll know you're in the right place. And we're going to go to employment. We can go right to the application. And there are several ways that you can apply. We do have some of the highlights of employment at St. Anne's right on this page, some information about our benefits. There is an online form that you can apply right here. You can also mail your resume. There's a link here to just print off a copy that you can mail. And you can also email recruiting@s-a-i.org. And then right here, you'll see all of our current openings as well. And if you want a full page view of that, you can just go to the top, go to employment, job postings, and this will show all of our available positions currently. One of the wonderful things about St. Anne's that I'll add is we are very open to new and creative ideas. And so we have literally created positions because some of our staff felt like there was a need for that. And my position kind of came out of that actually. So if you are interested at all in our organization, if you feel aligned with our mission or feel like this might be a place where you could feel at home, feel free to just send along your resume to that recruiting email address as well. Because if it's not on our website, there might be a spot here for you. So don't feel limited to what's listed on there. And we do have several locations, like I said, between the 2 Albany locations, Troy, Hudson Falls, and Gloversville as well. So people from a variety of areas might be able to feel at home here.
Thank you so much for that overview. And I actually just want to open it up to see if anyone has any last words or anything else you think is important to share with social workers, people looking for a job, or the community.
I guess I would just add that we have openings for not only interns and therapists, but also direct care staff. We do have the school program. We have a nurse here. So there are some medical positions. We are also, trying to open up these CFTSS services, and not all of those require a master's or even a bachelor's necessarily. So, we are kind of expanding who it is that we're hiring and what your qualifications and background are. Mostly we, just want people who are really interested in this work, and, being able to continue to grow our services and meet the needs of the community.
I think, just to, what Kaylin was saying, we do have a lot of opportunities, and I think the big part of it is the passion for the work that we do, as well as being able to work as a team and support each other. If you like that type of environment, some people are very independent, and and there's ways that you can be independent as well. But ultimately, we do work as a team and we support each other, and that's, I think, the culture that we were talking about. Just feeling like there's someone to talk to and to process with. We do have, as they were talking about, Rachel, and great supervision. We have, collaborative clinical team meetings that happen weekly. We have people, I think, generally all the supervisors have open doors, so it's not, it's, if you have something coming up, you can talk to them. So I think just wanted to kind of add to that about the culture and who we're looking for in terms of people coming in as interns or employees.
I want to highlight too, I guess I was thinking of the, how we've emphasized how much of a team we are, and how to some people that might seem like, oh, there's a lot of micromanagement or you can't be autonomous. And I have had the opposite experience that, I have always felt like I have autonomy here. I've always felt like, what I thought and my perspective really mattered in terms of the work that I did, and, the needs of the agency and things that might need to be addressed. But I always knew that I had people to fall back on when I wasn't feeling as confident, or, was in unfamiliar territory or needed some support because, we were going through something that was a really tough issue. So I really feel like the teamwork is in a very positive light, and not something where you feel obligated to something, but just very much in a supportive way.
And I wanted to go off of what Tammy said. I meant to mention it earlier, but Richard came in. I'm in a satellite office and I'm mostly alone, but it does not feel like I'm alone. There's constant communication between, everyone from all of the different offices checking in on me, checking in on, the program, checking in on the clients. So even at the satellite offices, you're never alone. There's always, that the open doors are still there. The phone calls are still there. It's just a great community to be in.
I cannot thank you all enough. And I hope everyone has enjoyed learning more about Saiyan Institute, and apply today, apply to work there, apply to intern there. You've heard all the reasons why, and we hope you enjoyed this. So thank you all.